welcome to the show today. And with me is my friend and fellow photographer, Nick Spartan, all the way from Oshawa, Ontario. Nick, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, TJ. This is awesome.
Great. So I'll give a quick intro of how I know you, and then I'll let you kind of take it from there. But Nick and I will pull up. This is where we first met, which was on the set of a short film called Raider Origins. So this was in Toronto in 2013. Nick is second from the back left. I'm
hair.
I'm with the hat and the shotgun on the far right. And on the front far left, you might notice a certain Huang Shi. Is that his name? Simu Liu. And so that was kind of back in the day. So that's where we first met, and we worked in film together. Since then, Nick came and helped me out on a couple of fight choreo things for different music videos and shows and films and stuff. Here he was a zombie for a little spot I did for my business back in that was probably also 2013, maybe 2014.
Oh, it's like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. And then most recently we worked on For the Sake of Vicious as the stunt team there with our friends Boris and Adam as well. And that is also available streaming and on different platforms. But anyways, that's how I know Nick. And during the pandemic, Nick had a business and he kind of pivoted from that business into full-time photography. So I just brought him on to talk about kind of that journey today. So Nick, thanks for coming on.
Again, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
So so maybe you can kind of talk about how you kind of got into photography, how you started with it. What was that journey for you?
For me, I've always loved photography. My dad was always large in photography. I have some dear friends who always took pictures. I never jumped on board with like a proper camera. So, I mean, I've always had digital cameras, point and shoots. I was big on those disposables. Remember those back in the day? But it wasn't until COVID came and I had to eliminate my business because of it that a friend of mine gave me her camera she wasn't using. So I took that camera and I ran with it everywhere, every single day. It was never not by my side, wherever I drove, even I went to get groceries, just in case the opportunity came up to snap a picture. And almost all my favorite photos are in that instance where I was just driving from point A to point B and I found something.
So you borrowed your friend's camera. What was that camera?
It was a Rebel T3i.
That's going back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And this was only what, 3 years ago, 2021. So yeah, it was an old camera she wasn't using.
It's kind of amazing how fast like the cameras like advanced, like a T3 or T3i or whatever it was, could probably like not too many years ago, it was probably like a wedding camera, or very comparable.
At least maybe a backup camera for most people. Yeah.
I shot my first 2 weddings on the T5i. A couple of lenses, one body, 2 batteries, and So where'd you take it from there?
The last upgrade I've had presently is I'm using a T7i until I get to mirrorless. And the only reason I don't have mirrorless at this point is I just can't make a decision on what I want. Whether I want to go R6, R5, I don't know. But I gotta pull the trigger soon. I gotta get to the mirrorless world.
What kind of stuff do you want to shoot with it?
I'm big on landscape, product. My favorite type of photography, which I really don't know how I would make any kind of money on it, is actually candid photography. Me and a work company I work for, the North Brothers, we do like music videos and commercials. And when I don't have a task at hand, I'll pick up my camera and I'll take shots from the sidelines and just try and get those candid moments, just like a performer deep in thought or just someone tuning their guitar, stuff like that.
Working on film sets with you, I don't remember if any of the sets we worked on had this. Oh, no, we did. For the Sake of Vicious, I think, had it for one day. But some other film sets, they had kind of set photographers and behind the scenes on films. There's one I did, Silent Retreat, in 2013, 2014, back in the day again. But Ellie Dasas was the photographer, and that's kind of his thing, going on set and doing behind the scenes shooting. So that might be something if that's what you're really into.
That is something I would definitely be interested in doing because I love working on film sets and just to be able to capture just even the stuff you don't see on film. There's a lot of camaraderie between the crew and the cast, and you never get to see that. So that'd be fun to capture. Yeah.
So I had you submit a couple of photos just to kind of talk about, and they're very different. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in here. So I'm going to start with this first one up here. So I'd love for you to tell me about this beautiful image.
Okay, so again, this is one of those instances where I just went. I was going to my storage unit to grab some gear, and it's like this photo was taken less than 2 minutes from my home, and I was crossing the train tracks. The sun was setting, and it looked gorgeous. And the glare of the track caught my eye as I passed over it. So I pulled over, went back, and the sky reminded me of like an Arizona sky. And so I just took the shot really, really low, and I set it really dark just to really bring out that orange, that hue that's there. And I love that shine of the track, and then how the track just disappears into the trees.
Nice. And this was shot with that. Was this shot with that T3 or the T7?
That was the T3i.
Beautiful. So it's amazing what you can do with with very little.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it worked, right? It got me started, and it got me in the zone.
Do you have, when you're doing the landscape, or I guess for all the different types of things you shoot, do you have like a favorite lens that you like to go to for each of the different scenarios?
You know, what's the funny thing is I've been experimenting a lot with lenses, and I know a lot of very popular photographers. They know what they want, but I shoot on just about everything. I mean, I'm still one of my favorites to shoot. I guess would be I have a Sigma 1770, and I like it. It's beautiful. It gives me a nice broad spectrum what I'm looking at. But I also like taking the wide. I have an old Canon wide lens. I can't recall off the top of my head what the number is, but I love getting that full shot if the foreground allows me. I'm in the city, so we don't get a lot of broad area. Yeah.
Now you're talking about not sure which mirrorless to pull the trigger on for doing the stuff you want, and it sounds like just an opinion here. I'm sure people in the comment section will shoot me down, but the R5, if you're looking at the Canon system, because it has or the R3, even if you can swing it, because of the megapixels, for those larger kind of landscapes, especially those wide ones, you can crop in to bring out details without losing a lot of that the detail there. So just something to think about.
Yeah, I think ideally, I definitely want to focus on a camera that I can make large prints, where I can put myself in a position where I can sell some of these prints and blow them up and not lose the quality. So that's not a bad idea.
Speaking of which, do you make prints out of your work?
I have only ever printed one of my photos so far, and it's one I gave you of the Toronto skyline from my city, Oshawa, after a really big storm. I've never printed anything else yet. It's on my list. I have a printer to do it. I'm very I'm picky.
Is that this one here?
That's that one there. Yeah, that's actually a shot you can't get anymore because they've built housing now in the way. But it was a construction site where I took it, and it was after this wicked storm. And I thought, you know what? I bet you there's going to be some wicked clouds out there. So I drove to this specific spot I like to go to, and if you look over on the far left, you can see the CN Tower there.
Oh wow, yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing.
But I love how the colors divided, like from the sun being blocked out. It's bright on the left, but dark on the right. So now I took that with the wide angle lens.
I love shots like these. Like until you pointed it out, or if I was really paying attention, I wouldn't even notice that was the CN Tower way off on the left there. But the one thing that's so beautiful to see is like we all know how tall and how huge that tower is, but then you look how tiny it is compared to this massive sky, and then you realize that's only like a tiny chunk of sky compared. That's like just over probably half of Toronto, or not even.
Oh
And
yeah.
you just realize how small we actually are. I love photos like that bring that sense of scale.
This is probably one of my favorite photos I've taken. And again, this is with the T3i. This was just while I was running around like a madman, just trying to capture everything I could see.
Amazing. So there's one that looks well, it doesn't look similar to that. Actually, looks quite different. I'd love to chat about that. And the reason I say it looks so different is not just like the contents composition, but the crop on it. Was this shot with a cell phone?
No, this was actually shot again with the T3i, and it was on a whim. I was just driving by again. This is actually the same area, like just a little to the right of where I took that skyline photo. And the sun was coming down behind that machine, like, and I was like, oh, it's a nice shot. And it just, the way it came off, it's I can't print it, I don't think, because it's very blurry unless I try some new software. But it's just, I don't know. I love this photo.
I do love a good silhouette. Oh, I love the silhouette. Like silhouette
Yeah.
shots are really nice, and of course you have that massive skyline behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that shot's just, it was on a whim. That the next day that machine was gone. Now there's houses there. It's just nice to have something that, only you have.
Isn't that amazing?
I
Like
love
think
it.
of all those New York photos from before 9/11 where you had the actual twin towers there, and now you have like Freedom Tower or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's all those photos from when they built the memorial, and like all that. You're never going to see that again, and it's amazing.
No, unless you were there in the moment.
Yeah. So what do you carry your photography? Do you carry your camera with you outside wherever you go? Like, do you look for moments like this all the time? Like, what kind of what's your process? What's your day like?
So I definitely carry my camera all the time, which is good and bad because, there's always that fear someone's going to take it. Like if I got to run to a gas station, I consider, it's actually something you told me you heard from another photographer is it doesn't matter where you are, treat it like a child, bring it with you, even if it's only for 5 minutes. That's all it takes to lose all your gear. So I find myself grocery shopping with my camera just on my back, just because I live in fear that it will be taken and everything I've accumulated thus far will be gone. But I try and take photos of everything. I try and take photos every day. Just even of random things that I see. Sometimes I look back later and go, that wasn't that interesting, And other times I'm like, oh, that's a banger. Like that was, I'm glad I took the time to stop, find a safe place to park my car and take a shot.
How often are you without your camera and forced to use your cell phone?
It doesn't happen often. However, I should have sent you this one picture. I was up north with my family there, my dad and my brothers, and I forget. We were pulling the docks out of the water, and all of a sudden there was the end of the rainbow landed in the lake. So you could see the end of the rainbow, which I've never seen before. I thought that was one of those myths. You never see the end of the rainbow. And I had to take the picture with a cell phone because I was nowhere near my camera. It was like way far away, and I how free or how fast that'll disappear. So I grabbed the cell phone, I took it. The picture came out good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, cell phones today, their cameras are incredible. It kills me inside. But yeah, I try. I'm reluctant to use my cell phone if I can avoid it.
When we moved up here to the north of Alberta, I'd be walking my dog around, and at least every third time I'm out, we encounter deer in the road or on some nearby grass or whatever, and it's always fun to see them. And I take like a little video to show my wife because she never sees them. It's always me that's taking the dog out and seeing them. So, of course, it's dark. It's at night. I have like my phone, which I have an even shittier phone that shoots in 720p max. And anyway, so jump back to us, like sitting on the couch watching those old like ghost shows and UFO shows and Bigfoot shows. And I'm like, man, every single photo is always this blurry piece of crap.
Right?
It's never like a crisp photo. And so I came and I show her the deer, which are like out of focus and jumping around and just grain everywhere. And she's like, here you're asking me why just is there nobody ever any clear photos of like the Bigfoot or whatever? And it's the exact same scenario, right? All they have on them is their cell phone.
Yeah, I know. I know, and I've had pictures that people have seen where I've said I took this with a cell phone, and then there's some photographers will be like, "Yeah, it's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. It's fine to take a photo with an iPhone." And I don't disagree. It's just I'm trying to take the time to learn these new cameras and develop a craft. And if all I got to do is snap it with a cell phone, I don't know. It doesn't feel as gratifying when you get that good pic. And that's just my opinion. I know there's some great photographers who use almost strictly a cell phone, and you can't contest it. They take great photos. They really do. And with the software available to us just on our phones, like the editing software, I mean, you could make museum quality photos. It's not that hard, I guess. So I don't know. I just want to master. I want to master the craft. I want to master my cameras, and I just want to learn as I go. I mean, I'm still fresh at this. Like I'm not a very experienced photographer by any means. I'm just learning.
So I see like in all the photos you sent, there's a lot of different crop factors. So do you have like a preferred crop to use, or just kind of shoot it however the camera takes it, whatever you're using, or do you do it with intention for social media? Like how do you work that?
I hate cropping my photos because when I take the picture in the frame that I've seen, like there's in my eye, there's a purpose to what I've left in that frame. So when I crop it, it's either to bring the subject closer, because if you post something on social media, I don't know, it takes the quality down a bit, I think, because there's an artistic format to how you take a photo. You've blended the background a certain way, and there's certain elements on either side that you've framed in that shot. And if you have to crop it, you kind of lose that. So like I sent you a picture of a dragonfly, which I absolutely love, but I had a wider angle just to show some more of the nature in the background. But you didn't get to see the real details of the dragonfly. It was you didn't appreciate, those beautiful wings. And I took that with a macro, which was amazing because it's not stabilized. And that dragonfly stood still for me for a generous amount of time. But yeah, so I had to crop that one in so you could see it better, which isn't a terrible thing, because I mean, that is what you're supposed to look at. And you're supposed to see that dragonfly and its beautiful details.
Mm-hmm.
But the original, it's just there's a little bit more.
Where did you take this?
This is at my cottage. It was actually just outside one of the cottages we have there. It was just flying around me, and then I waited for it to land, and then I set the tripod up in the camera, and it stood there the whole time while I set it up. I was blown away.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prairie View Photo Tours. Prairie View Photo Tours invites photographers of all levels to book their all-inclusive, authentic Alberta adventure at pvphototours.com.
What you mentioned that you're new to photography. Your friend gave you that T3 to use. You upgraded to T7. You're looking at mirrorless now. Obviously, photography is an expensive hobby, and that might be a barrier to entry for some. But what are some low-cost ways, from your experience, that people can enter into the world of photography without breaking the bank?
Man, we live in a great world of availability now with all the different sales platforms like Kijiji and eBay, and even just those like Facebook Marketplace. I would just buy used. Just mind what you buy, and be very diligent about making sure you're buying something that's not broken. But you can buy great cameras for less than $200, like really good entry-level cameras. And in some cases you might win. You might find yourself a fantastic camera because someone's just trying to get rid of it, make a couple extra bucks. But you can buy lenses so affordable than buying brand new. I would ideally love to have all brand new things, of course, because that's how I am. But most of the stuff I have is used. I've only bought a handful of brand new lenses and one brand new camera. But you don't have to break the bank at all. You could have a nice like 2 to 3 piece kit, easy to go, for probably less than $500-600, and that's not a lot to get started. And there's a lot of photographers. I mean, I used a T3i, and I know it's like very entry level at this point in the beginning, but to some people that's a huge upgrade from just a little tiny point and click digital camera. And some guys, they only use vintage cameras because that's their style. They like that old. I mean, I got some old Brownings behind me, and people still use those guys.
There's a photographer there in Toronto. His name is Vasco Obscura, and he shoots, like, he has his R5s, R3s, R6, all that stuff, but he uses an adapter and mounts like old vintage, like 70s lenses on them, and he gets some really cool effects.
Yeah, I have a bunch of my dad's old cameras, his old Canons, and I'd love to get the adapter to put those old lenses on, or just even fire his up if I can find some film. I know there's places that still sell film for these cameras. I'd like that. I used to shoot on film cameras. Again, basically the point and click version of film cameras, never anything big, and I loved it back then. I mean, we live you and I come from a generation where we still had to develop our film and wait and be patient and find out that of the 24 photos we took, 6 came back good and the rest had like a thumb or red eyes, and it's just funny.
What if money were no object, what would your ideal setup be for your kind of day-to-day?
If money was no object?
Money is no object.
I'd have to stick with Canon because I love Canon. It's just, I mean, all of us usually pick, a company and we stick with it. But I would probably buy the R3. I would. And I would buy every red ring lens I could get my hands on. Every red ring lens. I don't care. There's only a little bit off from each lens. I want to try them all. Some guy like you, for instance, when we worked together a few times doing some photo shoots, and I brought out the T8i and you brought out yours, the R5,
R6.
Sorry, and I could just see the difference just on your LCD screen, and I was like, oh, that's mind blowing. That looks so good, especially when we took night photography of the Fire Dancer. Like, your photos were just gorgeous. And I was just like, and I think I banged out, 300 photos, maybe more. And I got maybe 4 good ones because it just didn't have what you had in that camera, in that lens. Which,
for anyone listening, is just simply a larger sensor. And I guess that's the difference between a Rebel camera, which is a crop sensor, and the R6, which is a full frame sensor. Not that you can't do a lot with a crop sensor. You can, and a lot of times it doesn't even matter. But in some cases, when in that shoot, when fire was the fire she was holding was the only source of light in complete pitch darkness, a larger sensor is good to get whatever light is available. So in those cases, in extreme cases, then it makes a big difference. But in a lot of cases, if you have studio lights, or if you're shooting out in daylight or whatever the case is, then that doesn't make a whole lot of difference.
It's funny you say that with the studio lights, because can't shut them off because they're attached to the rest of the cafe that I'm attached to. Oh. My videos in the back. So I had to grab a ladder, undo all the bulbs, and then pull my studio lights out and just try and light as fast as I could, because I looked like I was coming from a heavenly aura. It's just it was just too much light. So I had to kill everything. Lighting has been a huge challenge and a learning curve for me. I'm not outside. When you have natural light or overcast, everything comes out gold. But lighting subjects has been a big challenge. Again, I'm learning, and I have a stack of books. In fact, you can see them over here. There's a stack of books here on just different photographies. Some you recommended to me. And lighting has been a big one. I'm enjoying the learning process. I'm trying to do a lot of product photography, and lighting's a big deal. And I got a few photographers who I follow, and I see what they do, and I'm trying to mimic it, and then still at the same time, with your own eye, your own style, tweak it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who are some of the photographers that inspire you, or whose work that particularly attracts you?
I love Lee Jeffries.
He's
running, and I mean that's a style to me all his own. I don't think you could. I don't know. It's always, they say it's complimentary to mimic someone's work, if you will, pay homage to it. But that guy's work is gorgeous. Like, it's stunning. There's so much character in his photos. I love the personality, the style, and the works of Peter McKinnon. That guy to me is he's inspiring, just with his excitement level and just where he's come from. And not to mention he's Toronto based, right? So it's nice to see our Canadian boys, making their name out there in the world. What's funny is, forgive me because his name is eluding me at the moment, but I loved your cousin's work.
Oh, cool.
Cole, yeah, I loved Cole's work, and I really liked whoever took the photos of Cole during his work, taking those photos, like those candid moments. Yeah, they were fantastic.
Now you can check that out. Anyone listening, still on Instagram at Benjamin Cole on Instagram, and you can check out his work. Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of photographers out there, but I mean, those are the ones that if there's a social media outlet like YouTube, what have you, I'm on it, and I'm just picking up. I'm working off the energy I see off those, and it inspires me to run out and just try and figure things out. Again, you're not interviewing a professional photographer right now. You're just interviewing an amateur guy who's just trying to find his spot in the photography world, and I'm loving every second of it.
Amazing. Well, speaking of finding your spot in the shot, you commented on working with the North Brothers, and this was, if I'm right, on one of their sets.
Yeah. This was this is a photo from a project that has not been released yet, so I'm really not sure how much I'm allowed to say about it right now. But this particular person, this artist, this singer, whose name I'm going to leave out at the moment, he was just sitting there and he was thinking about the lines of a song he wrote not that long ago. So we had to stop filming and just let him do his thing for a sec. And I had pulled the camera, and the photo looks like it's actually posed, which I love, but it's not. It's just legitimately me at the right time, just getting him. Well, you can't see it because it's a photo, but he was muttering the words under his breath as he was thinking. And the way that hairline light is behind him and the tube light, I love the mood that it gave off.
When you're on those sets, are you shooting? Are you doing just the stills, or are you also doing some video?
I'm working with lighting. I'm helping with anything I can. I'm basically like a stage hand, lighter, gaffer, whatever. It's just wherever they need me, I'm there to help. And then when we're filming, generally speaking, my hands are free, so I can pick up the camera and just kind of find the right angles.
Awesome. Actually, that's something that we can really talk about. Something that F Stoppers says too. Like, one of the best ways to excel in your career as a photographer, I guess both artistically and then on the business end of things, is to do just what you talked about there, which is assisting, finding other photographers, videographers, whatever it is you want to get into, and just ask them to use you for whatever they can use. Right. Sometimes it pays and sometimes it doesn't, but you can get a lot of good experience. And then there's going to be an art, and you can speak to this. There's going to be art when you're doing that to kind of not get in the way. So can you elaborate?
Yeah. So that what you've said is exactly how I got in. I've known the North Brothers for several years. When I had another business, they had another business, and they were doing their own promo videos and photos. And they only had one camera, and they were learning how to use it. They didn't have really any background in photography at that time. And they were really, really enjoying it, to the point where they decided to make the North Brothers company. Now they would come to my business, the escape room facility I had, and learning how their cameras worked. And I wish now, if I could go back in time, that I had jumped in on that. I picked up a camera and I went with them and learned what they learned, because I love their skill level now. I love their style. So when my business went down during the COVID crisis, I called up Norm from North Brothers and said, "Hey, listen, is there any way I can tag along with you guys and just try and learn in any way I can help out, even if it's heavy lifting? I'm there. I don't want any money. And it started from just some commercials to just going out for a day and taking shots of nature, and to the point where now I'm part of their team and it's a paid gig, but I still do some of their just some of their fun projects just to hang out and learn. And I'm loving the experience. It's been a great experience.
Amazing. Yeah, so important. An old mentor of mine used to tell me that everything rises and falls on relationship, virtually everything. And it's great that you had that relationship and that you're able to grow through that. That's really cool.
It's been a blast because I'm also watching them grow as well. Like I knew them in their infancy of this business venture, and just watching them progress and get better and just excel has been so much fun. And to be part of it, I can't be in a better position. I really can't.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up this other photo that you sent me, and I think it's probably the favorite one of mine, which is this guy here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about this one.
So this was in Coburg, which is, maybe a half hour from where I am, a half hour east. And they have this beautiful lighthouse. And at the time, they blocked this off. You can't get any farther than this because of the ice there. And there's what I was there to shoot was every year this snowy owl like roosts somewhere on that in the rocks by that lighthouse. And I got a couple shots of that, but I did not have the equipment then to take that. All the pictures came out crappy, but I loved just the mood of the water and the skyline, and these waves would crash so infrequently against this wall, this crash wall. So I sat there in the freezing cold forever trying to get and time the waves as they hit that wall. And sometimes they'd be huge, and sometimes they'd cover the entire lighthouse, and other times nothing would come up. And I must have shot like 1,000, 2,000 photos, and that was the best one. I love the way it juts out in the image. I love that the horizon line. It's just a good story because it's a long walk from the parking lot to get to this point, and I'm telling you, it's a wind tunnel. You're just freezing, but I knew there was something there, and I love the shot.
I love how a photograph serves as a memory for stuff like that, right? Like you go out on this crazy excursion, some crazy story in the freezing cold and the blistering heat, whatever it may be. You get a photograph, and your audience will see the picture, but in your head, you're reliving that memory.
It was. I've been there several times because generally speaking, everything's changing there, especially with the ice, because you get a lot of cool ice formation there. But that was a good day, and you're right. I love. Someone once said this on a video I've seen, but it's the journey that I love about the photo. Like it's fun when you're like, yeah, that's a great photo you took, thanks. But if there's no story, I think it's a little less interesting. But to hear the journey to get to that photo, like I keep seeing this photo you have in your backdrop, and I know you told me before we started recording that you took this photo, and I love it. It's gorgeous.
That's this summer I was on a political campaign doing the campaign photography, and we were down in a little hamlet in central Alberta in the Badlands. This was the first long exposure on the R6 that I ever did. And it was pitch black. I couldn't forget. There was a piece missing from the tripod, which I didn't realize was missing until I got back to the house. So I was trying to fidget with this thing. Anyways, I set it up, I shot. So what you see is the I'll try to get out of the way here. You see my little chair there.
Yeah.
What you see is that kind of the bluish light down at the bottom. That was me using no, I did have a flashlight. So I was using that to light the base, right, to try and paint it a little bit. The stars are the stars. And that little orange bit at the top, way in behind me, there was a street light, and that was shooting right out. But then there was a hill behind me. So then it blocks out. That's basically is the shadow of the hill projected on this hill. So you just get that little cap of orange with the blue underneath. And so it was completely unintentional. I wasn't even happy with the shot. But then when I got it done to some editing, I was like, I don't mind it so much. And if you don't tell anybody that was just a street light, I mean, they're like, oh, wow, how'd you get those? Complete accident, no skill involved.
Yeah, I'm actually a little unhappy that your first experience taking long exposure came out this damn good, because I can tell you, I spent nights outside trying to do stuff like this and came back with garbage. And you're just like, wow. But everything's a learning experience, right? You learn from your mistakes, but that is a gorgeous shot.
Oh, cheers. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything's a learning experience. If there's something you don't know, there's YouTube, which is basically how I've learned how to shoot, was from doing it. And then if I didn't know, I'd go to YouTube. And those photographers you mentioned, like Peter McKinnon and others, are just how you just sit and watch, and that's how you learn.
There's a, I run with one of those curses where I have an absolute terrible memory. So there are lots of names that I've used on YouTube that specifically do teaching classes, and I've learned a lot from them too. And I wish I could remember some of their names, but they run great courses on long exposure and lighting and where I don't know much about their work, they are great teachers, and we have that great access of knowledge out there now because of the internet. I mean, I sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but it's just nice because, again, I like buying books as well because I just take my time, but seeing them work, in an actual time frame is incredible. And like, you're basically, to me, you're interviewing a caveman when it comes to photography, because again, I don't know very much. It took me a long time to understand the f-stops and the apertures and timing, because the shutter speeds. It took me a long time to grasp that, to understand where it benefits and where it doesn't, because I don't want to shoot on auto. I'd like to complain. I know again, it's so hard not to step on toes, because I know there are some photographers that only shoot on auto, but I want to know what the camera's doing. I want to know what I'm doing wrong or how I can make it better. I don't want to rely entirely on editing software, which I'm still on the fence about editing software. Like, I do use it, but I don't know. Sometimes it's just like getting the photo at that moment the way it is sometimes better than editing it,
There's a couple of different philosophical camps there, right?
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to step on toes. I mean, everyone has their own style. It's just sometimes I take a photo and I just go, done. I'm not gonna do anything. I like it, And again, it comes down to your eye. That's my eye. That's my style. I think this photo is great. You could look and go, my God, Nick, this is awful. And I can tell you 10 reasons off the top of my head why and what you should have done to make it better. But, and you might be right for you, but for me, it's just like, no, I'm good with this. I'm okay with it. I like the way it looks.
There's a lot of old photographers that talk about, using film and stuff like that. And what you shot is what you got. But then there's dodging and burn, like before they get published, there's like you're dodging and burning. There's editing certain things out. So even with the editing process was a lot more arduous, but it still happened. Like we just made it efficient with the editing software. But you're right. Like it almost seems like cheating, where you can like select subject, it highlights a subject, and you just brighten it, blur the background, whatever, just bam, 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 sharpen it, and away you go. AI software that you can increase the megapixels of the photo, right? So you can blow it up.
Yeah, the software now is mind-blowing. And again, if you're running a business, these things are there to help you. They save time. They let you get more work done and accept more work because you have a pro. So like you said, if you can do it bang, 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 and the photo's done, then it's hard to argue about why you would use it. It's a tool, so use it. We use tools all the time. So yeah, if I'm doing like a photo shoot of something and I can quickly, I could make a filter so that all the photos look the same in the end game, then yeah, why wouldn't I use it to speed the process up? And then so I can put this project to bed, the client's happy, and now I can get started on another one, because the old way is really slow. It's really slow. And some of the softwares, you could just basically take a blurry photo and now it just fixes it. It's crazy.
Certainly, I think you should use those tools, but I think there's a lot of merit in learning how to do it yourself as well. I use my stove, but I still think it's important to learn how to make a fire.
Yeah, I like that. It's good.
So what kind of projects do you have on the go now? Like where are you at now in your journey, and where do you see yourself heading?
I have some jobs with some product photography that I have lined up, but what I want to focus on right now is making printable prints and making a site to sell what I'm doing, to see what people think and to go from there. Use some constructive criticism. I mean, I'm not amazing, but I think I've taken some good photos, at least, to me, and I'd like to see if anyone's interested in those photos. Sell prints. I recently in the summer, I was in Toronto, and I was just taking pictures in the distillery district. And there happened to be a photography exhibit. I actually have the photo. I'm just going to get the name real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So there's this photographer named. His name is not on this. That's incredible. Okay. Anyway, that's mind blowing. His name's not. He got a signature on that piece. Okay. Anyway, so this nameless photographer, unfortunately, I came across his exhibit, and I talked to the curator there, and because there's this photo I absolutely love, and it's a picture of a raccoon coming through the windshield of a car he found in the woods. It's an abandoned car, and the only access into the car was through this hole in the windshield. And I guess it was a family raccoon, so we just set up this shot, and it's his head poking out, and I loved it. But I loved all his work, which is really unfortunate. I can't remember his name, but what he does is he sells prints in different sizes and some framed. He sells several books he's made, but he only releases 3 photos a year, which I thought was mind blowing, because you know how many photos we take in the average year. Like,
Yeah.
So I mean, whether you call it gimmicky or not, I don't know, but his photos were gorgeous, and he doesn't rely on editing software. He takes them as is. And I really respected that. Again, nothing against using editing software. I use it all the time. But it was his platform he created there, where he was selling affordable, beautiful framed pictures, or just buy the print. And he had, I think, 5 of these exhibits all over Canada, and he didn't run them. Someone else ran them for him, like a pop-up, if you will. And he's just out shooting photos all day long, and this is what he does. He makes all his money off of prints, and he just gets to spend every day just taking photos. And it's just like, oh, I love this. I love everything about this. And I'd like to be on a level where I can sell some photos and that people really enjoy and look forward to seeing. I'm not going to release 3 photos a year. I take too many photos, and I like a lot of them, so I would definitely post more photos. But I wish I knew this guy's name.
It sounds like a great business model he's got there.
It's great because when I was in there were tons of people buying his stuff. And I don't think they knew who he was up until they walked in. He had beautiful landscape shots, gorgeous wildlife pictures, just a little bit of everything. He was like he was still trying to find what he was into, or just he'd like to sell everything. I don't know, but they're gorgeous.
Maybe you see yourself in those photos, right?
Well, that's the thing. That was the crazy part too, is this guy's eye was my eye. It was like I was looking at my photos. It was like, this guy's got the same eye I do, and I like that. It was just inspiring. It really pushed me to make sure I can take really good photos and try and build a business on it. Because working with clients is great. It's a fun experience, but if you can sell your own work, you're selling your art, and that's a really cool. It's a cool thing to do at the end of the day. It just makes you feel like you've done something.
Mm-hmm. I
can't draw worth a damn, man. I've had so many businesses where I've been self-employed, and it's just like I don't know if I can work for anyone again. So if I'm gonna run with this, I gotta jump in with both feet, and I really have. So I just gotta keep going, gotta keep pushing, gotta keep hunting, gotta keep taking.
Where can people join you on your journey? Where they can keep an eye on you and get in touch with you if they need?
The only place I have right now, because I'm building the website as we speak, would be on Instagram at unsolicited Nick Pics.
And it's unsolicited Nick _pics.
Yes, which I know is a silly name, but it was on the fast. It just came to me immediately. I've spent weeks on business names. It just came to me. I know it's silly. It may seem a little unprofessional, but that's what you're getting when you get one. You're not getting unprofessional when you get me. You're getting that kind of I'm laid back, silly, just fun. I'm not going to show up in a suit.
I had a friend of mine tell me I should have called this podcast Indecent Exposure. And I thought if I had Indecent Exposure featuring unsolicited Nick Pics, that would have been quite a laugh.
Click on images and enjoy the ride. I've never designed a logo yet.
Yeah, I see a camera with a limp 70 to 200.
I had a similar idea where it would just be like a zipper being open and like a camera lens peeking out, But again, I still want to have a.
You're walking the line.
Yeah, I'm walking the line, but I don't want to step over the wrong side and then you know, people think I shoot pornography or something, which is not a bad thing.
You've actually, all right, sir. Thanks for taking the time to come on the show with me today. I appreciate hanging out. It's good to connect and good to catch up again with you, and good to see your face.
You
And
too, buddy.
your increasing beard and hair length, which I'm immensely jealous of.
I grew it myself.
All right. Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having me, buddy. I really like this. This has been fantastic. It's good to see you too. I'm definitely heading out your way this year. I'll be bringing my old man with me because we're going to go on this like road trip photography tour across to you. And then I'm definitely getting involved in this PV tours. That's exciting. Like I'm definitely in. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. You guys can check that out again at pvphototours.com. And cheers, brother. You have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
You too, buddy. See ya.